Evening, guys. This is Dean. I have started the session tonight, so whoever is ready to join us, I have placed the meeting number in the Telegram group. You can see that the meeting number is over here. So I'm just going to push this on the other screen so that we have a nice clear screen for our session tonight. And tonight there's something very significant that I want to share with you guys, and I think it's really important that we always pay attention to this because, as you can see, there's opportunities that we may have missed, and there's a lot of mistakes that we may have done if we didn't pay attention to this specific market structure. So what I'm going to do with today's chart, I'm just going to try and scroll it back this point over here. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want you guys to see something and I want you guys to pay attention to this specific market. Now, if I look over here, I can see that I have a support over here and I have my first resistance level running up over there. And I will then have my trend from here till there. And I can see that this trend is clearly a bullish trend. And what comes from this trend is I have a little bit of a retracement, and that retracement gives me my first point of tonight, which is this is my first higher low. Now, why this is so important is because when the market is moving, what you want to always bear in mind and what you always want to remember is that in order for the market to move up, it must make a higher low. And in order for the market to move down, it must make a lower high. Remember, this is going to be seen like a stair. So every time the market makes a higher low, it is like you're stepping on a higher step in order for you to get all the way to the top. So this trend over here gives me this retracement over here, which is seen as my higher low. The reason it's seen as a higher low is because this low over here is higher than this low over here. So this is my overall low, and then this is my first higher low. From here, what I'm going to look at is the market then builds momentum from this low, and it builds momentum further up. So what we have is an A, B, C, D. Okay, and as we know, C becomes A and D becomes B, so this whole trend now begins all from overs. So we have C that becomes A, so we have A, B, and then we have a market that retraces, giving us another C. But this C, however, is also higher than the previous C. So what I want to do is I want to make all of the new support levels blue, and I want to keep the resistance levels green. So I'm just going to change this over here to blue so that we know what we are doing. So here we have a higher low, and then we have a higher low over here as well. So I'm just going to take this over here, and we have our second higher low over there. So notice that now we have a low, we have a trend, we have a retracement, we have a higher low, and then we have a trend, we have a retracement, and we have an even higher low. Now we have the market trending again all the way up till there. We were gonna kind of miss that one, and we see that the market has given us a nice long trend over there with no serious depth of retracement, and there's no higher low. So what we will then do is we start to see that the market giving us another low. That low that we have is over here. And I'm going to remove this one over here because now this is also going to be seen as a higher low. But here's something that I want you guys to pay attention to. Notice that every time the market makes a higher low, it makes a higher high. Okay? So we have a high over here. That's a high, and this is a higher high. And then this over here will be considered a higher high. So now that we have a higher, every time, so we had a low, we had a higher high, we had a higher low, we had a higher high, we have a higher low. So naturally, we will be assuming that the market is going to give us another higher high. However, if the market doesn't, and this is qualities of a bull market. Remember, when the market is moving bullish, it is moving up. And if it's moving up, it must make higher highs and it must make higher lows. But the moment the market no longer makes higher highs, then it's not a bull market now, is it? In fact, it is now starting to be a bear market because it's no longer making highs. In other words, it's no longer moving up. And if it's not moving up, then it's clearly moving down. So what we have over here is a high, it's a higher low and a higher high. So we are anticipating that this market is going to give us a higher high based on the fact that it has already given us a lower low. And if we give it some time, we will actually come to discover that this market actually, instead of giving us a higher high, the market actually gives us its first lower low. Sorry, first lower high. So what this means, a lower high. A lower high tells me that if the market was going to move up like this all the time, I will expect a continuation and a new high to be formed. But this time the market gives me the market actually comes down and gives me a retracement to a higher low. This low is in fact a higher low than this low over here. But this higher low doesn't give me a higher high. If anything, this higher low gives me a lower high. And with the lower high, the market actually gives me my first lower low. Over there. Now I want you to notice, and I want to highlight this low over here that you see, it's in fact lower than that low over there. And now the market, because the market is starting to take out lows, the market is actually starting to take out levels of support. Remember, support is where the market builds momentum from. But here we have a market that has built momentum from a support level all the way to a resistance level, and only to come and show that it is now starting to move bearish. So I'm going to change this trend line to red. Red is going to signify a bearish market. So there we have a red retracement, which is a higher low, followed by a lower high, followed by a lower high. And that lower high over here is seen as a ceiling point, which gives me a lower low. So what is happening now? If we were to look at this market in terms of the stairs, what we would see is that this market is, when it's moving bullish, when we have the market going higher, there's a high, there's a lower high, there's a higher high, a higher low, sorry, there's a low, and then there's a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. It's like climbing the stairs, because here the market takes its first step on this stair, it moves up and it comes and it steps on the higher stair, and it goes up and it comes and it steps on a higher stair, it goes up and it steps on a higher stair. But now we have the market that's not making higher highs anymore. It comes and it actually makes steps down on a lower stair, because this low is lower than that low. So if it's stepping on a lower stair, the next thing is going to make a lower high to make a even lower low. In other words, when the market is moving bearish, the market is in fact actually just moving downstairs. So if we give it some time, we will actually come to realize that there is another lower high. We can see that the market makes another high over there, and this high is fairly in line with that high over there. So we can't necessarily call it a lower high, but it is a high that is unable to break above this level over here. So it's going to be considered as a lower high. And if anything, let me just put this in the center to consider both of them as lower highs, because they're both lower than the overall higher high. What comes from this is the market starts to build momentum and actually makes another lower low. You can see that over here. The market makes another lower low. And that lower low gives the market another, there's the lower low that we find, and we actually have the market giving us another lower high over there. So if we just continue, we will actually come to discover that the market now goes from that low and continues to make a lower low, which is over there, followed by a market makes a bit of momentum over there, breaking that high, but still lower than that high, so it's still considered a lower high. And then the market makes a ultimate low, which is over there, and resulting in the fact that the market now does retrace, but it retraces lower than this low and then forming another low. So if we're looking at this chart and we're asking ourselves, what is currently happening? what we are simply saying is that instead of making higher highs, the market is making lower highs, which forms lower lows. And this, in fact, in all of it, is simply just a change in direction from a bullish market to a bearish market. So now, instead of becoming a buyer in this market, we actually have to start looking to become sellers. And the reason we need to be looking to become sellers is because the market is not making any higher highs. The market is not building momentum to the upside. In fact, you can clearly see that the market is building momentum to the downside. And because of this fact, we can put ourselves in a position to look for levels of resistance, to find opportunities to enter into a sell. And if you look over here, I've actually entered a sell in this demo account. You can see it's demo account. I've entered a sell, very small lot size. And this is just to show that I'm looking at this market to go further down, because I made a low and I'm looking for this high over here, this lower high over here, to go down to give me a even lower low. So I'm not necessarily looking for the market to give me immediate profits. I'm looking for the market to give me profits over time, because it's going to take time for this market to take out this low. But I can confirm that it's taking out this low because it has taken out every low that preceded this low over here. So I'm anticipating that the market is going to build momentum to take out this low by having that as its lower high. So based on today's session, what I want you guys to take away from it is, just because the market is moving up and down doesn't mean there's no thought behind it. Doesn't mean there's no strategy behind it. This is moving with purpose. And if you can break it down to its simplest form, you can avoid the traps, because it could be easily you finding yourself in the buy in this section over here, and the market starts to build momentum and it rolls over and you don't understand why. So instead of looking for levels of support to find opportunities to buy, you are looking for levels of resistance to find opportunities to sell, because you can see that the market structure is starting to change direction. And because it's starting to change direction, we are now put on the better side of the market, because we can now look at opportunity to sell, because we actually see that the direction is changing from bullish to bearish. And as you all know, we sell in a bear market and we buy in a bull market, and currently we are making lower lows and lower highs, which gives us a bear market, which tells us that we want to be sellers in this year market. So if you guys have any questions as it relates to this session tonight, I would encourage you to just jot it down in TeamViewer, in Telegram, and I will answer it as soon as I can. But for the most part, I see that no one has yet joined the session, but I am going to put this recording up in the group. So for those of you that are unable to watch it, you will have it on record, so you can always refer to this year video over here. So this was me just basically telling you guys how to identify a market that is changing its direction, so that we can avoid falling into the potholes and making silly mistakes, and as a result losing money. So this is Dean. I hope you guys have a good evening further, and don't forget to ask me any questions or pop me any messages in the group, and I'll answer it as soon as I possibly can. Furthermore, have a good evening, and I'll chat to you guys soon. Cheers. Good night. Bye.